Right. So when we left it with you guys, you had witnessed the coronation of the coronal, her marriage to her betrothed, and her subsequent murder by two drow, as you said in a recap a minute ago. You followed out the room to following Calanth and to his sister, and when you got there, he found that his sister, who was doing some kind of protection ritual, those of you with the Arcana proficient skill can realize this. She was doing some kind of protection ritual over the ceremony. She had been murdered by the drow. It's telltale. She has the same blackened, poisoned veins on her desiccated body that Arave Irithil started to get on her skin just before she was disintegrated. So you surmise that she was killed by the drow. Whether that's true or not, it doesn't matter, but that's the last thing that we did. So that's where you are at the moment. Calanth, is an inconsolable wreck. He is holding, well, the remains of his sister. He picks his sister up and cradles her body, and she starts to crumble and break off in his arms as he's cradling her and sobbing away. And that's pretty much where we left it.
I think, like, seeing this, I probably just, like, back out of the room slowly and head back into the, was it, I guess, like a chapel building?
The main sort of coronation chamber. It looks like a temple, basically. There's at the very end, there's a dais with an altar on it, and they've turned it into a coronation chamber.
Okay, yeah, I'll head back in there. Hopefully someone's like got it together enough to like start things moving officially on their end.
Yeah, Josiah is moving things. He's moving things forward.
I'll go back inside to see Josiah, and I'll ask her, please can I have permission to go get my weapon? I'm here only to defend your people, our people.
Josiah he's a little bit taken at the moment. You know, he's a little bit emotional, but he nods to you, and there's a load of some guards around him, and he points to two of these guards and says, go with him, let him get his weapons. In fact, take all of these people, points at you guys, back to their rooms, take a dozen of you with them, get their weapons, and get back here now. And 12 of these guards break off with you guys and start heading out, should you want to go.
I'm
ready to roll. I just had the staff anyway.
Yeah, so I'll run back to the room as fast as I can.
You notice that Josiah is starting to take command, even though the love of his life, who you gather he has been with for decades, has just been murdered in front of him. He's absolutely overcome with grief, but he is a commander. I mean, he was definitely the alpha of the 5-man group. He was the commander of the Twin Foxes, and he's starting to take control now. Although it's still, you know, you've just had the love of your life killed, but you've got to keep it together, because if you don't keep it together and start issuing commands, you're just either going to go insane or go and get incredibly angry or something. So he's trying to keep it together by doing what he knows. But yeah. So alarms are going off all the way through the city at the moment. And as you head out and you head back to your chambers, you pass a few more dead bodies as well elsewhere in the royal court. And amongst those, you see the dead bodies of a few drow, maybe 3 or 4 drow, as well as a dozen or so bodies of people, not just soldiers. There's servants and people that don't have any weaponry. Perhaps they stumble into the drow or something like that, but they've been butchered, just butchered. No ceremony, no, quick death, decapitation, limbs missing. They've been run through. They've been butchered. These people. But yeah, you get back to your rooms pretty quickly. Your rooms were already in the royal castle anyway, so it takes you about 5 minutes going along the ground floor, up a couple of circular flights of stairs to your floor, along that floor to your suite of rooms, and in there. When you go in there, you notice that, well, you get to it, you notice that there are two guards who are stood outside of your room, and they've been killed. It looks like they've been assassinated, these two guards. So it's not a fight, they've been assassinated.
I run inside the room to see if anything's been taken.
No, it doesn't look like anything's been taken.
In that case, I'll just grab my bow and head straight back.
Okay.
Assuming what I'm wearing is basically more fancy, but it's still armor, isn't it?
Yeah, it is still armor.
Okay, then I wouldn't bother changing.
Okay.
Is it the same for the rest of our rooms? All the guards have been murdered.
Well, you have a suite of rooms. Basically, what you do is you have one door that leads into a lounge area, then you have a set of bedrooms that lead off of that. So that's what you guys have been given. So it's the main doors from the main corridor that lead into your lounge area. The two guards outside that have been killed. So each individual room of yours doesn't have a guard.
Okay. Then yeah, I guess probably the rest of us will probably go and grab our stuff as well, as long as it's not been stolen.
No, it's still there.
Cool.
Okay. And then gonna head back?
Yep.
Like while they've been running through, could I have been, I guess, helping with little things like just like cleaning magically, like just scrubbing blood off of things on the floor?
No, there's none of that going on, basically. None of that going on whatsoever at all at the moment.
Everyone's just like standing around.
No, people aren't standing around. People are going off doing things, but no cleaning is going on. What they're doing is they're trying to preserve the scene as much as possible, so no one is being allowed close to the bodies or anything at the moment. Josiah says, no, we're leaving that. We're going to get some priests in, and they're going to do some divinations. We're going to get some mages in to do divinations, and we're going to find as much information as we can about this. So a lot of the normal standard guests, and these would have been people from other noble families, they have been ushered out, whether they like it or not, by the guards at Josiah's command. So all that's left now is about a dozen archers, the one guard, melee guard, who was Arave Irithil's personal bodyguard, who is now looking distraught. I mean, he looks like he's ready to be put to death, because the woman that he was charged to look after has been murdered in front of his eyes, in front of everybody. He looks like he's ready. He's ready to be put to death, basically. He's got that sort of look on his face. He's just mortified and is a wreck at the moment and is not really doing anything. And he's being left to it. He's being tended to by a woman in sort of robes, and she's trying to talk to him and look after him, and he's just got 1,000-yard stare, staring off into the distance. He's handed over all of his weapons to somebody, and he's just sat himself down on the floor.
Josiah, what's going to happen to the guard? I mean,
he says, I'm going to worry about that later on. At the moment, I want to find out what's going on. What's going to happen to him? Nothing's going to happen to him. There was nothing that he could have done. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to punish him.
Yeah, it looks like he's doing enough of that already. Is
Right.
there anything I can be doing for you right now? I know I'm not the strongest mage, but
you can talk to people for a start. I don't want information from them. That's not what I need you for. What I need you to do is calm people down, help them out of the room. We've got 2 doors down, there was going to be the reception chamber where we were going to have the banquet afterwards. The banquet hasn't been put out, but that's where we're going to be corralling people. You can either go down there and speak to the people who are already there, or you can help get some of these people that are already in this room out, talk to them, calm them down, and get them in the room. I need people out of this room for the moment. You can come back in, but I need everybody out, everybody else out.
Right. Okay, I'll get on it.
Right.
And I'll return and I'll do that. I'll start like soothing words to people if they're like kind of standing awkwardly, or like,
yeah,
I'm like, yep, you need to head over into there. It's gonna be all right. He's gonna find out what happened, and we're gonna fix it. We're gonna make it right. Come on, let's go out here.
Cool. Yeah, you can do that. You can get people out, and that's fine. And the rest of you guys, you're going to come back after you've got your weapons, or are you going to stay in the rooms, or what else are you going to do?
No, I want to come back very hastily.
Okay.
Yeah, same. Flint will probably come back and just try to glean any information he can from the scene.
Okay. When you guys get back, there's about 5 priests in there now, plus a couple of people in robes. One of the people who's turned up in the room is the human that you met on the road near the standing stones. He's there now as well. Let me move you guys over to the council hall. Yeah, he's there, and he appears to be off over the top area here with Josiah, and they are talking, and they've got a couple of archers nearby who are stopping people from getting close to them. The 2 of them are just in very private, very quiet conversation. They've got their backs to you. You can't see their faces or anything. You see them, they're nodding and gesticulating as they're clearly talking about something. As you go back in, you look over there. Josiah turns around to another one of the guards who is nearby, not the 2 who are flanking them, another one, and gestures him over, says something quietly to this guard, and this guard leaves the room at a run. One thing you do notice is that all these guards are wood elves, for a start, and these guys move at one hell of a rate. They move faster than you do, Ferrum. Naturally,
yeah.
I might add. All of them. They've got a move equivalent that's at least 40, possibly 45. So this guy hightails it out of the room, and he's shifting. And the 2 of them continue to chat. You've got the druid Kazira, the wood elven druid, who is part of Josiah's 5-man group of the Twin Foxes, as well as the cleric Malin Florial, and Calanth is all back here. Obviously, he's sat on a pew at the front at the moment, around about here, with his head in his hands, and he doesn't really appear to want to talk to anybody at the moment. People come over to him, and he looks up and he glares at people, and they leave. He's distraught as well. He is absolutely distraught. He's just lost his sister and one of his best friends, so he's a bit of a wreck. Malin Florial, the cleric, he is over with the bodies of the drow, and he appears to be casting some kind of spell upon them. And if anyone has religion, they can make a religion check. And in fact, if you have Arcana, you can make an Arcana check, but it's at a penalty. Yeah, that's pretty good.
I'm fine. I just figured they're doing divination.
Okay, so what he's doing at the moment appears to be a preservation spell. It looks like he's preserving the bodies of these drow at the moment, just in case something happens to them. That's what he's doing at the moment. There's a couple of other clerics flitting around, and what they've been doing is administering spell healing to anybody that needs it. So if any of you guys are injured, I don't know whether any of you guys are injured, you can get some healing. Anyone injured?
Not me.
No.
Bose was probably the only one that was.
Well, he's not here, so he doesn't get it. But there's a few other people, like the guard, who is still alive, he was injured, and Josedai was injured. Because basically, if you remember, one of them cast a fireball in that area. So anyone who was in that, who's still alive, has been injured. So yeah, there's a few of them who need healing.
Back when we kind of discerned that this assassination was going to happen, was there any information about like what sort of happened next, or is that all sort of the lost part that I didn't know?
Well, the history doesn't really tell you what happened exactly next, but it does say that there was another coronation pretty quickly.
Huh. Okay. And it doesn't mention anything specifically about it being a male, so it was odd.
Well, the last of the Irithyll line has just been slain. There is now nobody left in the Irithyll line to take over the hereditary coronation.
Right.
Now, you notice that over in this top corner here, where the human mage is talking to Josedai, that this human mage now heads over to the group and starts speaking to the priest who was behind the altar. This dude here.
Did we ever see the sword? Was that part of the ceremony? Did she not have that yet? Well, I can't imagine she would have, because otherwise she would have had like invulnerability or something.
No, she wasn't given the sword. The sword would have been granted as the last thing to happen after everything went on. And not only that, but the sword has to be part of an attunement. So there's an hour-long ritual that happens between the priest and Arave Irithyll to grant her this weapon and for the weapon to accept her. And there's no way they were going to do that in front of everybody, because it's a very, very personal thing to do. Two, it's an hour of extreme tedium while everybody else watches her meditate and pray over a blade. And three, it's a process that isn't for normal people's eyes. It's a very personal thing that the coronal does. So it's something that would have happened after all of this, when everybody else had gone through to the feasting, banqueting chamber, and they would have started to eat. She would have done this. She then would have come through an hour later with the sword and given speeches, and at that point it would all have been signed, sealed, and delivered, sort of thing.
Right. Is it up there on the altar? The sword? Is it like been brought forth? Okay.
The sword is there. There is something wrapped in a really fine cloth that's about sword shape on the altar, which you presume is the sword. It hasn't been unwrapped. And it's got a couple of people stood next to it, and they're not letting anybody get close.
But does my detecting magic eyes see just like the most ridiculous rainbow of magic I've ever seen in my life?
Coming off of everything and everyone, yes, as well as the autism.
Sure.
I mean, the old human, who is masquerading as an elf, has more magic on him than anyone else in this room. Just him, for a start. Followed by Josiah, followed by the rest of his group, followed by the sword, and then followed by patrons and the guards. Now, it's interesting to note that Josiah has a sword that is broadly similar to the sword on the altar. Not quite the same, broadly similar.
Okay. Did we ever find out who the wielders of the other two blades were in our research?
You did not.
Okay. Sorry, I've been asking lots of questions. Everybody else can words in edgeways.
What I would do is, as I come in, I'd initially go over to Calanth, but seeing him in such a state, I think I'd probably walk over to Josiah and like turn my back to him and just like assume like defensive positioning sort of thing, like every one of his guards is. Yeah. And I would just stay there, to be honest.
Okay.
Unless asked to do otherwise.
You can't overhear what they're saying. He was talking really quietly to this human. Josiah is now just stood in the corner, and he appears to be. He's got almost like a wooden clipboard. It's just a wooden pallet with a parchment on, and he's writing on this parchment on this wooden board over in the corner, up the corner here. And when he's done, he rolls it up and calls one of the other guards who's next to you. There's now three of you and two guards. Calls one of those guards over, gets some sealing wax and a candle, a sealing wax and a heat source, gets his ring, and he seals this rolled up scroll, gives it to the guard, and then just says to him, which you can hear, he says, "This needs to go to the High Council. Now, go." And this guard legs it out of the room. Another guard immediately falls in and takes this guy's place. So there's three of you there still. Another guard joins in.
Okay.
And he turns to you and beckons you over. Just you.
Okay, I do so.
He says, "I need you to go and speak to Calanth. I need him functioning." And he's not. "I understand what's happened. I've heard. I haven't been to the room. I don't know exactly what happened, but I need him functioning. He is now my right-hand man. And if he can't fulfill that function, I need to know. So go and speak to him, and I need you to judge how he is."
I just nod and like turn on my heel sort of thing and walk straight over to Calanth.
Okay, I'll leave you there for a moment. I'm just trying to find something in my documents folder. I can't bloody find it.
Speaking of documents, what happened to the drow thing, the praise loaf business?
Well, there's two of them, one on each body, and now that they've been searched, and they are sitting on the floor, and people have been looking at them. They're unfurled, they're lying on the floor, and they've got things holding them open. No one's touching them, but they're staying there, so you can read them if you wish.
Okay, I'll have a look at it now.
Okay. It should be in your list. Damn it, I can't find the bloody thing. There we go.
Out of curiosity, did all the other drow also have one of those notes? Like, because you said that we did see some other drow like riddled throughout the building, and I was wondering if they also have those notes.
Yes, they did.
Okay. Do we believe those notes to be true? I mean, like, should we roll insight or anything like that to figure out if that's like, something that was planted there or there to throw us off?
Well, I mean, you've had a chance now to maybe look at 4 or 5 of these because you've been footing out and you paid particular interest in it. They're all the same words, but they've all been written by the same person, but they've all written slightly differently. So there are nuances in the handwriting as to indicate that each one has been individually written rather than, printed or copied or anything else like that. They're all written on the same parchment, and it looks like they've all been written by the same ink, i.e., from the same ink well. Looking at the way it's slightly watery here and there on some of it when it's a bit too thick and so on, you can look at it and go, yeah, I'm fairly sure it's on the same cut of parchment from the same quill pen. As to the legitimacy of them, I mean, you get to a couple of bodies first, like the 2 guards who are up, the 2 with this drow up near where your room is as well, not quite near the 2 guards, but up that way, and there's no one got to them yet. And you find the bodies, you search them, and you find these parchments on them yourself.
Okay. All right. Then, yeah, I'm not going to raise any questions about it. I believe Flint would believe that these are true. This is, what they were doing here. It's
Right.
all for Lolth. And so I think everyone else believes that, and so he'll just keep his mouth shut.
But you can gather them up if you wish and compare them physically side by side, the ones that you've got, in order to get more of an idea. It's up to you, or you can leave them on the body.
Okay, yeah, if definitely.
So you've got 5, and there's 2 more in this room with the 2 drow who killed Arave, which you've not been able to take with you, but you can get access to in situ.
Okay, yeah. I guess I'll take the 3 that I have, and kind of compare them to the 2 that are there in the ceremony room.
Okay, well, it looks like on at least one of them, the author of these scrolls was getting bored of writing these because the script is becoming a lot more slapdash as he's hurrying through doing this. And you notice that in a few of the words on some of the others as well. So the 2 that were on the drow who did the assassination of Arave are pristine. I mean, they obviously were ones that were written first. The rest of them correspondingly were written anywhere between 2nd and nth down the line, and they're correspondingly less well written, as if the author is now just bored of what he's doing.
Okay, so I will raise that to the rest of the group, and I'll say, it appears to me that these are all written by the same person. You can tell these are quite well written, and the rest, as they go down, seem to be increasingly more annoyed. The person is tiring of this task. They're getting bored with it. I'm not so sure that this was all for Lolth as it would have us believe.
Okay, well, the rest of you guys are there as well.
I don't know that we would. I don't see any reason to have suspicions that this wasn't the intention. They weren't all just provided with these to leave a message upon their death. I assume they were prepared to die as soon as they'd committed the deed anyway. It was
Yes,
just
I imagine that they were,
right?
but the difference is the reason why. These notes would have us believe that it is for some holy or religious purpose, but perhaps that is not the case.
Drow are evil. Drow worship Lolth. Everything they do is for their dark goddess. They're all corrupted by her blood.
Perhaps, but in this case, perhaps not. As I said, these look like they were all written by the same person, not by these individuals. And if it was not written by these individuals, perhaps they are not as devout as you might think.
Well, I'm not sure that there's much that we can do about this anyway. I suppose it's worth bearing in mind, but I'm sorry. I'm
Well, of
just.
course, we're not able to do anything about it. I mean, what's done is done, but I believe it is worth noting and keeping in mind, because what we're after, the person behind this is not some deity, but most likely an individual.
I sigh and I say, yeah, yes, perhaps. Hopefully, we'll be able to do something to avenge whatever it was that orchestrated this.
And Flint will just give a nod.
Okay. While you're guys doing that, and I'll come back to you in a moment, Rain, you notice that Josiah is now talking to the priest behind the altar, and into the room has come back in half a dozen of the elves, a mixture of high and wood, who were in the front rows of the coronation. They've come back in and they're now congregating behind the altar where the priest is currently stood. So in this sort of area, so there's 8 people currently in that sort of, and they're all chatting, and they are now ringed with the remaining guards in the room. So that's just Josiah, the high priest, and 6 of the people who were sat in the front 2 rows.
I'd like to go and catch the human wizard now, if he's no longer part of that group.
He is no longer part of that group.
If nobody minds me doing that, I will
Let
do
me just
that.
let me just sort Rain out first, because
Absolutely.
I left Rain while he was going over to Calanth. Okay, Ferrum.
Yep.
You get over to Calanth. He looks up at you. He's distraught. He's absolutely distraught. But he looks up at you. He's got no anger in his face. He's got nothing but just a resigned despair.
I sit down next to him and just like put a hand on his shoulder and say, I know how you're feeling. A year ago, I lost everyone that I knew, had ever known, my family, my friends, in an attack. And I understand how it is you feel right now, but I was forced to venture out into a foreign society, into a foreign culture. It is worth fighting for this, what you have here right now. I know it's hard, but in 6 months' time, if you don't this second come about and fight for everything you hold dear, it was something that will haunt you forever. And I know it's not what you want to hear right now, but it's what you need to hear.
He kind of nods. His head is down. He's listening to you, but he's not looking at you. He's not looking up. He's just staring at the floor. He kind of nods. And he says slowly, he says, I know. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna find out what's going on. I'm gonna take you all with me. I've got a plan first. I'm not letting them win.
Of course not. I am with you all the way. Go speak to Josiah.
He nods. He says, when they finish their talk, I will.
And I'll just wrap an arm around him, just try and comfort him.
He kind of puts his arm round your shoulder as well, and kind of squeezes your other shoulder. He doesn't look like he's been crying, but he's still got this 1,000-yard stare. He's obviously lost in thought at the moment.
Yeah.
Right, sorry, back to you, Zilt, quickly.
Sure, yeah, I just wanted to kind of catch him and see what he was doing now that he'd finished speaking.
Yeah. Yep, he's kind of just, he stood near the drow at the moment. and he appears to be making notes, but he is there.
I guess I'll just ask him, what have you managed to find out?
He says, we have reports coming in of murders happening all over the royal castle. That's where he is. It's quite big.
Mm-hmm.
He's not that big.
He's about the same size as me.
Right.
We're both rather large.
He says, we've had reports of murders coming in all over the royal castle, whether it be guards, servants, anybody. There are 9 bodies of drow elves around, and their bodies appear to be desiccating as they lay there. So we have priests around trying to do what they can to preserve the corpses in whatever state they're found in, so that we can get some more information from them. It looks like, from my gleaning so far, that a couple of drow came in first, assassinated Lorien, Calanthe's sister, to drop down the wards, which would allow the other drow to teleport in at various points throughout the castle. Now, it looks again like all of the assassinations were carried out simultaneously with military precision. None of the drow have anything on them apart from scrolls detailing what they're doing and their weapons and armor. There is no jewelry, there are no other belongings, no pouches, nothing on them whatsoever. They came in knowing they were going to die. This was a suicide mission for all of them. They were all armed with virulent poison, and what that poison is designed to do is to, on death of the target, to immediately convey undeath to them, turn them into undead. Now, what this does is it completely negates the ability for them to be resurrected or brought back to life. All of the people who have been killed have this black veins on them, which is the poison that have coursed through their bodies and caused them to desiccate. And within a certain period of time, it's my belief that they would have risen as undead. But they are nevertheless undead at the moment, just inert. So, yeah. Things are still ongoing.
I almost can't believe that creatures this evil exist for the sole purpose of serving some spider god. I wish there was more we could have done.
I wish there was more we all could have done, but there isn't. For all of our best intentions, for all of the protections and precautions we put into place, nobody could see this. What we need to do now is to rally together and not let the kingdom of the elves fall.
It seems as if Josiah is a very capable leader. I feel as if there is more to come to this fall, that you might, in this state, stabilize, or they might stabilize, sorry. Yeah, I don't think this is over, and we need to stay vigilant. I think you're right.
Josiah is currently speaking with a council of elders regarding the successor to the coronel. The current feeling is that they wish him to take over as coronel. Now, the most important thing to know is that They don't get to make the choice on this. There is only the only way a choice can be made on who takes over as the coronel is whether or not the ruler's blade, the Great King's sword, accepts the new wielder. Now there was
Sorry, Karen.
No, you speak.
Is Josiah the current wielder of the Warblade?
Yes.
Then perhaps that stands him in good stead. I don't remember in any of my histories hearing about somebody who had both.
He won't have both. He will have to pass the Warblade on. One person cannot wield two blades. They cannot wield two blades. Not they shouldn't, they cannot. Now, I know that Josiah has been at odds with his blade. I don't believe the two of them are well suited. I do believe he is more suited to the ruler's blade. Now, it is interesting that there is a ritual that must be done. And the first thing at the start of that ritual is the prospective wielder of the Great King's sword, the ruler's blade, must draw that weapon. And that at that point, and no one knows what's going to happen until that point, the sword will determine whether or not they are a worthy wielder. If they are not a worthy wielder of that blade, they will die. Then and there, straight away. And this goes for anybody. If you draw that weapon and you are not a worthy wielder, you will die.
Then I suppose their discussion is
yes,
a more pragmatic one than. And what of the current Spellblade? Where are they in all of this? The Art Blade.
The Art Blade, the wielder is around. That is immaterial at the moment.
I kind of raise an eyebrow at him, skeptically.
What?
Ought they not have been here for this ceremony?
Traditionally, the wielder of the Art Blade is the one who coordinates the protections for this ritual. Down throughout the millennia, it has been customary for the wielder of the Art Blade to be the only person of power and responsibility to specifically not be part of a coronation.
But in this case, it was illegal. Sorry, I didn't mean to break up the flow. I'm just looking up her name.
Lyriel?
Lyriel, yeah. Was Lyriel the... I don't remember seeing a blade on her when we...
No, she was not a wielder of the Art Blade.
Is there a reason I shouldn't know who it is?
Yes, it is unimportant for you to know that information at this point. But don't worry, I'm not doing this to be obstreperous or for any cloak and dagger reason. It is best that you don't know this information for the moment. For the moment.
If we are to go after the drow, then if we had that information, that... Yeah.
If you are to go after the drow, then yes, it is not prudent for you to have this information. And in fact, there aren't many people who know who the wielder of the Art Blade is for very specific reasons.
Right.
Basically, accepting the Art Blade condemns you to a life behind the scenes, and this is something that they all accept.
Yes. A great sacrifice to make for the magic of the land, one that I would happily make myself, though I know I am nowhere near even helpful in this situation. It's so frustrating. We were taken here for a reason, and I feel like we could not fulfill it.
Do you know what that reason was?
Well, we know that we're supposed to... Have you noticed my companion Farron's bow?
No, I have paid little attention, I'm afraid, to your weaponry.
It is not even similar. It is the same as that of your Ranger General.
Calanth.
Yes, Calanth. They are one and the same item, somehow. It has something to do with that. But I made my choice to save this place for a better realm in the future.
It's a noble cause. Let's hope that's the case.
Yes. Perhaps we can change things yet, even though this was not able to be averted. Oh, I'll let you get back to your divination. I'll speak with my group.
He nods, turns and moves over to the drow again. Right, back to the rest of you. Griffin, you haven't done anything for a while.
Yes.
Speak.
If Griffin really doesn't know what he wants to do. Hello.
Go on.
Hello.
Yeah, go on.
Hi.
Yeah, right. Okay, that fucking said something. God damn. Sorry, I moved my mic and it's not been working properly. Yeah, I really don't know what the fuck to do.
Okay. Yeah.
Put yourself in your character's shoes. After having come back here from the rooms, what would be the first thing you did?
I'm going to have to hurry you.
I wonder if he's having mic issues again.
Are you actually saying anything, Griffin?
If you can hear us, type something into the chat. Doesn't have to be long. Even the word something would be nice. Okay.
Okay, moving on. Right. Those of you who are in the room, which is pretty much everybody, notice an incredible hush just fall on the room. All the talking gradually stops until you notice. And what you've got is the priests and the High Council and Josiah all stood on the altar, and everybody's looking in their direction. What's happened is the priest has picked up the scabbarded sword in the cloth, and he's got it held out, and he's unwrapped it. And what you have in front of you is a longsword. A longsword's scabbarded, obviously. And fucking hell, this is not a good time for the phone to ring. Got rid of that. And the Quillians and the pommel have got a golden glow to them. Very faint, but you can just about see it amongst all of this. And he's holding it out to Josidiah. Josidiah looks very, very trepidatious, but he takes the scabbarded sword in both of his hands, holds the scabbard in his left hand, and puts his hand on the hilt of the sword, puts his right hand on the hilt of the sword. Everybody is watching. And he, with great trepidation, draws the blade from the scabbard and stands there with the blade held in front of him, vertical, and waits. Time passes slowly, seemingly. And it seems like collectively the entire room has just held its breath. It feels like.
I want to like be scanning, not necessarily looking at him, but more scanning around. And if I see like any movement, I want to react to it immediately with an arrow.
Okay. Now, you do notice that the guards are so well trained that most of them are not looking in his direction. They are also looking about as well. Some of the guards who are closest to him are not looking at him. Some of the guards slightly further away are, and the guards who are furthest away aren't, if that makes any sense. Okay. And he holds his blade in front of him. And the first thing you notice is that the blade itself appears to be like it's carved from stone. It's weird. That's what it looks like. It's carved from stone. That's what it looks like. And the blade looks to be craggy and pitted and worn. It's strange. However, electricity is crackling up and down the blade of this thing. And the blade itself glows with this golden light of electricity up and down. There are 3 gems set into the blade, one on each end of the quillion and one on the pommel, and they're black. And they are giving off this almost black light to them. Subtle, so it's not overshadowing the gold of the blade at all. And he holds this in front of him. Now, Zilt, you weren't given a time frame as to when the wielder would die if they're not worthy, although the man you spoke to did seem to indicate it would be pretty quick. Mm-hmm. What seems like a couple of minutes passes and he hasn't fallen down. Eventually he lowers the sword and just keeps it in his right hand, and almost imperceptibly the entire room lets out the breath it was holding in with a sigh. And then what happens is the priest behind the altar, the high priest of Corlon Orethian, starts doing the coronation again to Josidiah. Even though there are the dead bodies of God knows what else around, people are moving backwards and forwards, he starts doing the coronation then and there. And the High Council move away.
Can I stand, like, sort of how Ferron is, like, in a guarding stance of him? I'd also like to do that, and I'd like to try and make, like, the biggest shield spell I can. Like, just a big wall of force between us while this is going on, and use all my concentration to maintain it. Just the only thing I can think of that will help.
Okay.
Yeah. At the moment, I suppose I'm stood on the bench, like here, next to Kalanth. I would like gesture to Kalanth that we need to move to where my token is, and I would, I guess, like assume a position like this.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Just so I know, is this Kalanth's token?
Oh, hang on. Hang on. Just move the wrong one out of the way. There we go. Calanth token.
Okay, thank you. Who's that in between us? Is that Josiah?
Yeah. Can you see the nameplate on Calanth now?
No, I can't. But I thought this was Josiah's token.
Oh, sorry, you're right. Yes, it is. Thank you.
I'm standing like there, causing as much barrier as I can.
Well, I've added nameplates to Josan and Calanth, but I guess you can't see them.
Nope.
Afraid not, no. Have you gone into the advanced thing and
Yeah.
ticked them on?
Yes.
Sorry, that was like.
Let me just reload my page.
Calanth now. Calanth has just appeared.
All right, I'll just reload my page. So.
Yeah, that looks to have done it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That one is Malin. So that's Malin Floral. He's a cleric.
Mm-hmm.
And where is the other one? Doesn't matter for a minute. Okay, well, I don't know what's happened to Griffin, but he appears to have gone for a ninja AFK after. If you're going to type stuff, can you not type it in TS? Oh, okay, right. Oh no, that's understandable. That's fine. Okay, Griffin's going to be back in a few minutes. He's had to go AFK for the moment, and it's absolutely fine. I'm cool with it, so we'll come back to him in a bit.
Okay,
no worries.
Okay.
Yeah, he's just going to go off and do something. It's fine. Okay. So, does anyone want to do anything? This is going to go on for an hour. Does anyone want to do anything for a while? Now, all of the rest of these people, I'm not going to move them out, have been moved out of the room. Let me just, apart from the 6 council members. Let me just see if I can do that quickly.
And the council members the one in black?
Yeah. I'm just going to move them off so that I can clear the room. Okay.
Just as an aside, open the PDF to check the rules on Shield, and typed in a random number. Was on the right page.
Good work. Good work. The only person here who is not High Council and not you guys is the bodyguard, Arave's bodyguard, who has been left sat there, and the human mage. I'm going to put a name tag on him as well. That name maybe means something to some people. It should do if you know anything about Forgotten Realms. Was it an O of recognition?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You do have, if you remember, the only thing that you had that told you his name was a parchment, a scroll.
Oh yeah, we looked, didn't we? We did have that information. I totally forgot.
Hang on, mate. So yeah, it was signed Prince of Atalanta, Elminster, Almar, AUMAR.
Mm.
Okay. Right, so this goes on for an hour. Is there anything anyone wants to do in that interim period?
Nope. Hold guard.
Not really. I mean, we're kind of waiting for this to occur so that way we can kind of move forward, I think.
Right. Okay. Well, with that in mind, then, time passes. Thorin sits down and starts singing about gold. So it's a reference there to a computer game that probably most of you won't have got. Right. An hour passes, and at the end of that ritual, Josiah turns round, and he has the blade in his hand. He's not dead. He's perfectly alive. He's not smiling. He's got this look of grim determination on his hand. During the ritual, he has buckled the scabbard to his belt, and at the end of the ritual, he sheathes the sword, and you see that the glow fades out on the blade and on the pommel, Quillian's. And he turns to... he's taken off the rest of his weapons as well. He did that before the ritual. And he turns to Calanth, and he says, Calanth Lorien, step forward. Calanth turns and steps to him and says, my lord. And off of the altar, Josiah picks up the warblade, and he holds it out in the scabbard in front of Calanth. And Calanth just kind of looks at it. And then Josiah says, I name you wielder of Arivala Kerim, the Warblade. You are the noble warrior. You are the wielder of the blade. Take it. And Calanth hesitantly takes the blade and the scabbard. He does pretty much the same. Holds the scabbard in the left hand, holds the pommel, the hilt with the right, and draws the blade. This longsword is almost identical in size and shape and form factor as the ruler's blade, but its makeup is completely different. It shines like polished silver. It's incredible. And blue and silver flames lick up and down the sword, the quillions, the pommel, and around the wielder's hand. and it bathes his hand in this blue silver flame. Doesn't appear to, it doesn't harm him or anything. All up and down this blade as well. It's like a flame blade, but blue and silver flames, but a lot less. A lot more subtle than a flame blade, which is big fire. This is just like flames lick up and down the blade, like if you pour petrol from a can onto the floor, the way the flames follow that along the ground, they're very low flames and they're bluish and they kind of flicker along. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, it's that up and down the blade constantly, all over it, like the ripples of flaming water up and down. And he immediately drops to a knee, and the priest starts performing a ritual on Calanth to attune him to the blade. You do notice that the bow that Calanth doesn't normally have visible when he took the blade appeared over his shoulder. And so now the bow is now over his back as he does this. And as he drops to one knee, he takes the bow off and puts it on the ground and lets go of it. So the bow is now sat on the floor next to him.
I had to roll to pickpocket the bow. No, sorry, I shouldn't.
Lol. Okay. And he starts going through his ritual. Josiah now has moved away from the altar, and some of the guards have fallen in to flank him. And he calls you guys together, all of you, a bit further up the room, sort of about here. He says, gather, all of you.
I guess I'll finally let go of the shield spell I've been preserving for an hour. Somehow.
All right.
I'm still like watching his back, so say like I can listen while not necessarily looking.
Yeah. He says, we need to go and we need to strike back at them. We can't let them win. I have a task that I need you to perform for me. I need you to go and retrieve something that I've been told has been stolen by the drow. Not now, this was stolen some time ago, a long time ago, hundreds of years. I need you to go and retrieve it and bring it back. This is something of immense worth to the Elven nation, and would be a blow for the drow should they not have it anymore. I was previously unaware of this, but I have been made aware. It is an orb, like a crystal ball, made of glass, about 9 inches across, filled full of smoke. And inside the smoke, there is a soul. And the soul has been put there for protection in a time before magic was able to cleanse the spirit of a vileness that had infected it. We now have the magic to cleanse the spirit, and I need you to the soul, and I need you to retrieve this orb and this soul and kill any and all drow between here, the soul, and on your return, especially the high priest. I was unaware of any of this, but the blade has told me. The blade is sentient.
I'll immediately turn to him and just say, consider it done, and start to leave, I suppose.
He says, wait up, don't go yet. I am considering whether or not to send Calanth with you. This is a matter for discussion, not with you. with the High Council and with Calanth himself. He will want to go, but he wants to avenge his sister. If I want him to stay, I may have to command him to stay. But Zelda, you were going to say something.
Yes, Lord Coronel. As you may have seen and are now definitely aware, we're not the most capable people under you. Why would you send us specifically on such an important mission?
Because the sword has told me to.
I'll just nod. I was like, if that's what you wish, we would be happy to do anything we can.
I wouldn't have sent you. I would have sent other people. Not because I don't believe in you, but because you are not mine to command. Nevertheless, the sword has specifically asked that you go. It won't tell me why, and it is not my place to question, as strange as that may seem, what the blade says. The blade is many lifetimes older than I, and as you know, all of you will live for a very long time. These blades were forged before the existence of humans in the realm. These blades were forged before the existence of dwarves, before many of the gods came here. These blades were forged in the fires of Lord Ao, the greatest of the gods, the god that created many of the other gods, that deified them from their humble beginnings. These blades were created by some of the first elves on this plane. Some of those elves were sorcerers of unparalleled magnitude that wielded magic that has been lost to the eons, centuries, millennia ago. And the blades contain the willing souls of many of these artificers who imbued their works with their own spirits so that they could guide the elven nations down throughout the millennia. This information has come to me from the blade, and it is overwhelming. But they have one thing in common, and that is the protection of the elven race as a whole. And this is what they have told me, and I dare not question it. So I would like you to go.
I'll nod to him and I'll say, do you know where the drow reside?
This information is being gleaned at the moment. I know. He turns to Elminster. He turns and says, I know that my new human friend over there, he says with a smile on his face, is divining all this information. You will be provided with equipment, should you wish it, some magical backups, and various other items that we can find that will aid you on your journey. But you will be going underground. You'll be going into the drow elven kingdoms. So you need to be prepared for this. Yeah, he always assumed that Elminster was an elf because he looks like an elf, but he's just turned and said to, with a bit of a smile on his face, my new human friend over there.
Yep. So I assume he's also looked at me and maybe raised an eyebrow once. I might have caught it.
He doesn't raise an eyebrow at you, no. It does seem that now he's got this blade, he has access to an awful lot of other things that previously he didn't have, and one of them is probably things like true sight. You can just see through illusions and things like that. And if he's clocked Elminster, he's clocked you.
Yeah, definitely.
I think Flint would probably ask. Well, this does sound like a terribly dangerous undertaking, and as much as we'd love to help you, I'm not so sure that we're well equipped for such things. Do you happen to have anything that could better aid us?
As I said, you'll be provided with equipment and magical protection to aid you on your journey.
Okay, so I'll take that to mean that he does not have anything. Alright, fair enough.
When I have more information on the location, then we will set off an expeditionary party. As much as I would like to have a large force go in, it seems that should they become aware that there is an invasionary force, they will destroy that which we seek. So therefore, a smaller group needs to go in.
Yes, a group of 5 can sneak much better than a group of 24.
Yes.
I'll look to him and say, as you said, it's not our place to make this decision, but Calanth would be an enormous help on this journey. The skills he would bring would be overwhelming.
I agree. Which is why I would like to make him. No, I'd like to ask him to go with you. But I will respect his decision. Whatever he decides to do, I will respect. But I would like him to go with you. Yes, I can command him to go, but he has always been my right-hand man and my confidant, and most importantly, my friend. And I trust his counsel, and I trusted it then, and I trust it now. He will most assuredly want to go with you. I know him. He lost his sister and one of his best friends. He will want to go with you, and he will want to carve a path through as many of these drow as possible to show that, well, not his loyalty. His loyalty has never been under question, but to show exactly how much his sister and my beloved mean. That decision might not be mine to make. It might not be his to make. Now that I am the Coronal, as odd as it may seem, a lot of the decisions for the safety of the city have now been taken out of my hands. And I know this sounds odd, but there are greater things to consider now. Nevertheless, I am taking counsel both from him and from the High Council of Six. And as soon as we can, we will mount an expedition out. It would be useful if you could provide me with a list of equipment that you need, mundane equipment primarily, and I will try and provide, well, I will provide all of that to you, plus there will be numerous other items of a magical nature that I will provide to assist you. A list of anything in particular of a magical nature would be useful, but you need to be wary of the fact that I might not be able to lay my hands on it immediately if it is an item of esoteric use or it is difficult to obtain. But we need to work together quickly on this to mount an expedition as fast as we can. So give it some thought.
Who is the leading authority in the kingdom on the drow, that we might speak to them and learn of the trials we might face?
He nods back towards the human, says, that man there.
I was hoping to speak to him regardless, but I'm glad that... Sorry, Yes, I'm very overwhelmed by the situation, as I'm sure you are as well. I need to stop. I need to think before I say. I'm sorry, my lord Coronel. I'm just
That's
going to
fine.
my head a
I
little.
understand. He smiles thinly at you. He goes, I understand. This has come and hit us all hard. perhaps Calanthani most of all. Nevertheless, I have a duty to perform, as does Calanth, as does everybody here. We need to focus on this duty first of all, and we must let our emotions not control how we act. As much as it hurts me to say this, and as much as I want to tear from limb to limb all of those who have been responsible for the death of my beloved and of my closest friend's sister and friend, we must maintain a clear head. And he's saying this almost through gritted teeth. He knows he wants to just carve a path through these fuckers, but he can't. He's got more responsibility now that is greater than revenge. Much, much greater.
Don't worry, we will do it for you.
Yeah, like I was thinking of saying that as well, just like lightning and fire crackling in my fingers.
Right.
Zerk angrily.
Okay, I'm just going to need a couple of minutes break now, guys. I need to make a phone call. So if you want to grab a drink or get a coffee or go and have a cigarette or whatever, now's a good time to do it.
Yep, cool.
Back in a minute.
All right.
I'm back.
Welcome back.
Why the fuck am I typing as I talk?
Oh, okay. That is easier, yes.
So, what's everyone been up to?
Recently started playing Elder Scrolls Online because that became free to play. Well, not free to play, more like buy to play, I guess. Is the more accurate way of describing that.
Like Guild Wars 2?
Yeah, like Guild Wars 2. Yeah, it's basically the same thing. You buy the base game and then you can play the full game for free.
Cool, cool. What do you think of it?
I haven't gotten too far into it. I just got it yesterday. But I do like that you can steal the living daylights out of everything. Like you can just go around just pilfering all kinds of stuff. And I think it becomes better at higher level. I'm only like level 4 right now. But like I've been caught by guards a few times, and it really sucks when you get caught because they are freaking tough. They are super strong. I mean, they have like a way of rooting you in place, and then like they just beat on you, and it hurts a lot. But it's fun. It's interesting.
Sounds cool. What's the combat like? Is it anything like the Elder Scrolls games?
A little bit. I mean, you can play in first person or third person view. Like over the shoulder and all that. And you do have different weapons. Um, the bow and arrow is not as good as it was in like Skyrim or any of the Elder Scrolls games. You don't get like increased damage for hitting people like in the face. It's just you, as long as you can target them and the arrow will connect with them, it'll do damage. You do get extra damage for being hidden, like you make a sneak attack, and then once you make that sneak attack, you're no longer hidden. And then of course you have the different weapons, like daggers, swords, axes, maces, two-handed swords, two-handed axes, shields, and then they've included destruction stabs and restoration stabs, which of course do what you think. You have the ability to block attacks, and if some enemy is going to perform like a special attack, you can interrupt it. Let's see, there are charged strong attacks, and then of course just your weak normal attacks. Dodge rolling, that's a thing. So combat's pretty involved, it seems.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Mostly, like I said, I haven't really gotten too far into it, so I haven't done a whole lot of combat. What I've been doing mostly is just stealing the living daylights out of everything and selling it, because like you can get some items sometimes that are worth like 100 gold, which is kind of nice at level 4. Trying to get the upgrade for my backpack. I already got the upgrade for the bank, which was like 1,000 gold. Let's see what else. Banks are shared amongst all your characters, so if you upgrade the bank on one character, it upgrades the bank on all the characters. I think you can have like 8 characters max. You can only, yeah, I like it.
Okay. Are we good to go?
Well, welcome back.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, doke. So, sorry, I got horribly distracted. I got a phone call coming at the very, very end. What was the last thing we were talking about?
He wanted to. We told him we'd cleave a path through the drow for him.
Right. Okay. So, yeah, he was talking about providing with items and equipment and things like that.
Yeah.
Okay. He says, well, we are going to launch this expedition as quickly as we can. So I would suggest that you go off and you pack your own equipment. And if you are going to move around the royal castle, just let guards know where you're going to be, so that when I need to gather you together and set the expedition going, you can be easily gathered together. Or either that, or stay in your rooms. I'm not going to confine you to your rooms, but just let people know where you're going so that you can be found when we do decide. Because I estimate that when I need you to go, it's going to be fairly quickly. You won't have much time, so go and gather your equipment and be ready.
I just nod at him and leave.
Yeah, I'll do a little
Yeah.
bow and I'll head back over to Elminster.
Already?
Follow suit.
Okay, you're back with good stuff. Okay, you head back over to him. He's just finished casting a couple of spells. They're divination spells for those of you. You don't need to roll. You can see. He looks up at you.
It's like, Beings again. Sorry to keep interrupting you. We've just been given a task by the coroner. And we were hoping to learn more of the drow from you, so that we might be better equipped to deal with it.
What do you need?
I suppose information on what we're likely to encounter down there, what type of... I know they train spiders. confess I know little at all of the Drow. They're very secretive, and even more so in our time.
He says, I'll provide you with information. Now, the Drow have exceptionally good night vision, so they will be able to see further underground than you will be able to. And yes, they do worship Lolth. Lolth is the Spider Queen. So they have command of animals, insects, creatures such as those. And there will be small as well as giant spiders. Their spells are designed to disorientate, to enchant, ensorcel their foes. Now, this won't be too much of a problem for those of you who are of Elven descent. For you, they will. But we can solve that.
Hopefully so.
Heading down there, you don't have the facility to see. We'll see what we can do to give you some kind of item that will rectify that. At least it will
welcome.
give you a similar night vision ability as your compatriots.
Oh, we're all elves here, aren't we? So...
He smiles. He says, I don't think I need to bother keeping this masquerade up any longer. But, yes.
I saw Josiah look your way as well.
Yeah.
Are there any particular magics that you could impart upon us? My companion Delgar is a powerful wizard in his own right. Anything you could teach him, I think, would be incredibly valuable. I don't have the same innate learning. My power comes, and I'll just like point to my chest and then point to there.
I understand. He says, yes. He turns to you, Griffin. He says, we probably won't have time for you to learn more than one, possibly two spells, depending on the spells you wish to learn. So pick two spells you wish to learn. I will have the scrolls made available to you in your chamber. And depending on which spells they are, you may be able to learn one or both.
Sounds reasonable. Thank you. I'll have to think it over, but thank you.
What he means is, if you wanted to learn two first-level spells, you could. If you wanted to learn two third-level spells, because it takes longer to put them in your book, you probably couldn't. Unless, of course, they're of your specific specialized school, at which point they take half as long to learn, and you might be able to. So it just depends on which spells you want to learn, on whether you could learn one or two.
Since I'm in the school of abjuration, then I could get two abjuration spells possible. Oh, third level or something. Maybe second level.
Basically, you have effectively got... you would be able to learn 4 levels of spells, split either two second level spells, 4 first, a third and a first, unless they were abjuration, at which point you would be able to learn 8 levels of abjuration spells.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so have a think, look through the PHB and decide what you want.
And we were told there would be a high priest of some kind. He's likely to be a powerful cleric,
Yes.
though of presumably necromancy.
Presumably. Oh, bloody book's gone.
Yeah, the charm thing was like I mean, the purpose of the conversation is if he has any more things like, I should get charm resistance because.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Hang on. That's what I'm looking for.
Quick side note, for some reason I'm getting a memory leak somewhere, so it might actually take me a minute to get through spells, just being quite slow, but yeah.
Yeah, no worries.
Did 8 levels of abjuration, or what was the other one?
4.
It's basically 4 normal. So you need to factor in the fact that it costs half as much time to learn an abjuration spell.
Yeah.
So effectively, a spell that's, if you just count it as 8 levels of spell, any spell that is not an abjuration spell will cost you double its spell levels in out of that pool of 8 points.
Right. Okay. Good.
Ooh, could I possibly work with him to ascertain what the effects of this era's magic are going to be on my spells before I cast them? Just to get that information.
Errors of magic?
Yeah.
Do you mean like your world magic?
Well, you said like apart from the learning the first level spell as a cantrip while we're here, there were going to be like other effects on magic.
Yeah.
I was just going to see if he could try and give me some insight into that. Like we could go through my rituals and stuff, see if my if my wild magic is affected, because I've not done any high level spells here yet.
He says the nature of magic is that you have more control over your magic here. So the nature of your wild magic, you will have more control over the ramifications, the miscasts, the spell flares than you would have back in your normal time. That doesn't mean you will have complete control. It just means you will have more control over what happens. And effectively, game-wise, it means that when you roll on the wild magic table, you can pick either the effect before or after or on the number that you roll. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah. That's good. I'll make sure I have that up if I'm doing casting then. We're using the basic one, aren't we?
Yeah, we are, yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. Okay. Time passes. Does anyone else want to do anything else before I skip forwards?
Nope.
Well,
in terms of normal stuff. Sorry, carry on.
I mean, he didn't really tell us where we potentially procure like some better equipment or anything like that, did he?
He just said, make a list of everything that you want, and I will, when we meet again, I will see how easily we can obtain those things. He said, any mundane thing that you want will be really easy to do. Magical items may be more difficult, but give me a list of everything that you would like, and we'll see what we can do to obtain it for you. Now, what that basically means is, on the list of magical items in the DMG, anything that is listed as a common item, like potions of healing, things like that, will be really easy to obtain. as you go correspondingly up the, the uncommon, rare, blah 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 item list, they would become correspondingly harder to obtain.
Okay. And we should just make a list of like everything we want, or like, I mean,
not mundane wise, but if there's anything of a magical nature that you want, then make a list of it. Yes.
I don't have the DMG. I only have the player's handbook.
I can Dropbox a PDF of it if you would like.
Yeah, thank you.
well, I think looking through the DMG will probably take me a while, so I will refrain from that for the time being.
Well, if you wish to do
Maybe
it
we can-
now, I don't honestly mind, because I know Griffin's going to be looking through the PHB.
I've already done it.
Okay. And I would rather you get this all done now. So if we need to take a 5-10 minutes to do that, I am absolutely fine with that, because that also gives me enough time to just deal with the aftermath from this telephone call that I've just had. So if you wish to do that, I honestly don't mind.
Sounds like a good plan. Yeah, I'll sort this out
Yeah,
for
sounds
everyone.
fine.
All right.
If they need it.
Well, I'm just going to take my headphones off for a moment. So when you're done, just type something into Roll20 and I will pop back. But these bloody headphones are killing my ears at the moment. But I've just got to deal with the aftermath of this email, and that's kind of like a really convenient thing for me to be able to do. So, right.
Sure. Okay, yeah, I'm just uploading that now. It's there's a couple of things. It's not sorted by rarity, if I remember correctly, so it's a bit of a pain in the ass, but have a look.
Thank you.
Like your basic potions are normally mundane stuff. Like I think the night vision stuff that I need is probably mundane. That sort of level of enchanted stuff, maybe +1 shit. Which you already have, I think, with your bow and that. Well, maybe not. Maybe it happens soon.
At 98% RAM utilization.
It is leaking somewhere. I don't know what to do in terms of like non-magical items though. I can't think of anything that's going to be useful.
No, I
shit.
can't think of anything, to be honest.
Was that sorry, Ryan?
I just said I can't think of anything either, to be honest. Like, we've pretty much got everything we'd need for a journey.
Yeah, but like if we have access to magical items, then there's probably quite a few things you might want.
Well, yeah, but magical items, like we were talking about just general items, I think.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
we
we're
could
gonna get,
stock
like,
up
any
on
of
some
those.
general items.
Well, no, he did say that, if it was uncommon or rare, then, it'd be difficult for them to get, and, like increasingly so as the rarity goes up, but that it wouldn't be impossible.
Yeah, I'm not
It
saying we're not
just-
going to get it. I'm just saying, Davrick's right there I think he meant stuff other than magical stuff.
Well, how are we doing for like rations and stuff? We could just get some, like mundane stuff. But I mean, if we can stock up, we might as well stock up.
Hadn't we literally just done that though, because we did it for our journey to Hillsfar, and we ended up using
I
none
know.
of it.
But more free stuff to stock up with. I mean, come on.
Yeah, like if you need more rope, if you need more arrows, which you sort of don't. If you need some manacles, a magnifying glass. I could get behind getting a magnifying glass.
But then you have to keep track of your inventory weight. The worst.
Weren't
thing
we just
in
going
D&D.
by like a general, as long as you're not like carrying a house, it's fine kind of thing? Like obviously I'm not going to be running around with like 70 packs of rations, but
Yeah, I don't think we've done much of it. At least
No,
in my
he
experience.
said to us like, ages ago, pretty much, keep track of it, and he trusts us to not go over it.
Okay.
I could have sworn it was a deal. Okay, even my browser's slowing down. I'm going to restart real quick and wipe my memory.
Okay, DMG link is. I'll drop it in.
Put it in TeamSpeak because it's
Yeah.
Streaming obviously.
Yep.
Ah, fuck's sake. Oh no, never mind.
I mean, that should work. Let me know if it doesn't. I don't mind putting up the PDFs for people since I've paid money for the books. This seems fine to me.
User in your channel timed out.
RIP. Now I need to look at it myself. I was doing that and I wasn't looking.
Yeah, I was gonna get the DMG, but I thought I'm not DMing anytime soon, so.
Yeah. Yeah, if you thankfully this PDF is like sorted. So if you head on the bookmarks and stuff, and into treasure, the magic items like list is actually there. It just like clicks you straight to page 135 of the PDF, which is pretty cool.
Wait, so I click what? Sorry.
That being said, I've actually just noticed that it doesn't take you where you want to go. Hold on, I'll find the page that the magic items start at. Just like the descriptions and stuff. It starts on page 150 of the DMG.
Thank you very much.
And it's done A to Z, so. And he said mundane magical items. Or is that what's that called? Uncommon? No.
Well, I mean, there is uncommon, and then mundane items. So, in other words, non-magical. So anything that's
right.
non-magical would be super easy for them to get, and you can have absolutely. But anything that is not will be more difficult to attain.
Gotcha.
Amulet against detection and location sounds unbelievably handy for what we are looking to do.
Yes. What does it say in the italics of it?
Wondrous item uncommon requires attunement.
Yeah. If it's uncommon, that sounds good. Have you got like boots of Elvenkind or something like that already?
I haven't got any special boots.
I reckon the elves probably have some boots of Elvenkind.
They do. It like gives what's it called? Advantage, I believe, on stealth
it's
checks.
advantage on dex that relies on moving silently, and your steps make no sound. I think that's one of the standard ones they're probably going to have. Braces of archery you could look into. You have a proficiency with longbow and shortbow, and you gain +2 bonus to damage rolls on range attacks made with such weapons. I'm finding stuff for you, I'm not finding anything for me. And there's the Cloak of Elvenkind as well, which does advantage on dex checks as well to hide.
Just reading some of these descriptions. Bag of devouring. I don't know why anyone would ever want that.
Oh man, they're awesome.
User joined your channel.
Yeah, it's actually proved more useful than you might think. In
Really?
another campaign that I've been in, yeah. Like anytime you kill a creature, like say, like a troll or a vampire or something like that, and it has a chance of like regenerating and coming back to life. Well, you kill it, and then you just put it in the bag, and it's gone forever. You never have to worry about anything ever regenerating or coming back to life.
Yeah, I suppose that sounds pretty handy. I can just imagine, like, finding a really rare artifact or something. Put it in the bag of holding. Fuck, I put it in the bag of devouring.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are lots of items on here. This is a long list.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I don't know that 10 minutes is going to be long enough.
We want everything.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I sort of don't mind leaving mine up to fate, to be honest, what they have.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I mean, I think the main important thing will probably be stuff that is going to be useful for adventuring. Things like probably a bag of holding,
I have one.
decanter of endless water. Be nice. We never run out of water. Just a few other things that are pretty useful.
When it says requires attunement, what does that involve?
You
An
have to spend
hour
a short
of-
rest, an hour of focusing on the item,
Okay.
and you can only attune to 3 things max, unless High Rise wants to do it differently.
No, 3 things. I'm sticking with that. Well, actually, I have something for you already, Ferron.
Oh, okay.